And good evening, Mayor and City Council. Hi, I'm Kirsten Hans. I'm the Business and Finance Manager for Community Planning, Development, and Innovation. And tonight, we're asking the City Council to adopt a resolution affirming their August 2021 decision to increase business license fees by 3% effective January 1, 2022, and updating the fee schedule attached to City Council Resolution 8538. For a little background, during the FY22 budget adoption process, the City Council adopted Resolution 8538 to increase business licensing fees by 3% effective January 1, 2022. And in preparation to update these fees in the database that we use to assess them, it was discovered that the fee schedule presented during the budget process was inaccurate. The business licensing fee schedule presented here tonight corrects those inaccuracies to be in line with a 3% increase. And in order for these fees to go into effect on January 1, 2022, we are asking the council to take the final vote on this resolution tonight, and we have noticed that, publicly noticed that. So I am just going to quickly share my screen with the motion, if I can do that. Here we go. Can you all see the motion?
We can.
So the motion tonight is to adopt and deny a resolution affirming the City Council's August 23rd, 2021 decision to increase business license fees by 3% and correcting the fee schedule attached to Resolution 8538. And as I mentioned, these fees are scheduled to go into effect on January 1, 2022. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Thank you, Ms. Hans. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and we'll hear from folks. And then if council members have questions, we will proceed. I am always the last to know. So we will be taking care of this item tonight. And we'll do so happily. The public hearing is open. Anyone care to comment on the business licensing fee increase? Mr. Larson.
Am I hearing this correctly? You're going to do this is the final consideration tonight? Wow.
Correct.
Anyway, I don't know why you guys are adjusting the tourist home fees at all, considering there's only about 114 tourist homes actually registered with the city of Missoula right now. I could send you all the tourist home list that I requested. But you can see for yourself that there are far more tourist homes on Airbnb or VBRO alone than there actually are registered with the city, which will probably lead to another information request from yours truly about how many times we've actually ticketed anybody for an unregistered tourist home, which I believe is going to be a big fat 0 times. So it's useless to add or subtract any fee right now with that specifically because there's no regulation of it to begin with. And for like just on face value, we should obviously be extending this into next year's decision for obvious reasons because the public hasn't been allowed to comment at all. And the rest of it, I think you guys should defer to next year on this one because it's just right around the corner. But the rest of these fees, again, are just part and parcel with the city increasing fee schedules for no reason other than to just get more money out of taxpayers. So, yeah, that's it for this one.
Seeing no additional comment this evening, I will close the public hearing. I will note that these fees were discussed as part of the rigorous budget process that the city of Missoula goes through what seems like all summer long. Questions or comments from council members? Mr. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to be supporting this tonight. I understand that a lot of my colleagues will disagree with me, but with everything going on right now with inflation and the hit small businesses have been taking for the last 2 years, I cannot support it on that principle alone. And then also the fact of the matter is businesses don't actually pay these fees. Businesses are just people, and the only people that can actually pay these fees are either customers with higher prices or employees with lower wages, and that's just a general fact of economics. So I'm not going to be supporting that. I think that our city is, our constituents at least, are going through really tough times, and they have a lot less money in their wallets than they did before the start of the pandemic. So I think that it's would be irresponsible of me to vote for this, especially at this time in our current economy and current time in our world.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos. So I think we're veering into the comments. Do you have a question, Ms. Vasika?
Nope, I had a comment.
Okay.
So I'll wait for that section.
In that case, I would entertain a motion, Ms. Jones.
Okay, let me get my glasses on. All right, I would like to make the motion that we adopt a resolution affirming the City Council's August 2021 decision to increase business license fees by 3% and correct the fee schedule attached to Resolution 8538. And I will speak to it briefly if this is the appropriate time.
Ms. Jones.
Thank you. So this was addressed this summer in our budget, and we're just basically enacting it now, as well as correcting the record. And basically with this 3% adjustment, we are tracking with our labor costs in order to keep this system running. So I think it's basically, we're zeroing out. I don't see it. I don't think that it's anything overreaching at all, but I am happy to support it and encourage everyone else to support it.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. That motion is in order. Discussion on the motion. Ms. Vasika.
Thanks. I am going to agree with my colleague, Mr. Ramos, on this. He hit the nail right on the head. I think that this is only going to hurt small businesses, especially with how the current economy is going on. So I do appreciate all staff's work on this, but I will not be supporting it tonight.
And Ms. Anderson.
Thanks so much, Mr. Mayor. I will be in support of this because, like Ms. Jones said in the reading of the motion and her comments afterwards, this was discussed at length during the budgeting cycle. And it is a modest increase. If you look at some of the schedule, I mean, we're moving things from a $58 to $60, $61. And, you know, we are in the business of providing a public service to the constituents, the folks of Missoula, and we need to employ good people to provide those good services. And making sure that we're, delivering the highest quality services for Missoulians is a part of good governance and good business, and we do that as well. So I think that this is reasonable. If businesses do want to pass along a slight increase, as a consumer, I absolutely understand that. And it's a part of the whole cycle of things, how they work. And, we're not immune to that as well. Increased costs and labor costs at the city, just because we're a governmental entity. We do employ people, we do buy goods and services. And so we need to keep track of that, keep on track with that as well. Thanks so much.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we've had a public hearing. We'll have a roll call vote.
Okay, on the resolution, I'm going to drag this over. Becerra.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
No.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Vasika.
No.
Von Lossberg.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
And would any of you like to change your vote? That's 9 ayes, 2 nays, and 1 absent.
And the resolution is approved. We have no additional public hearings this evening. We have a number of items for final consideration. These, as I suggested earlier, have been subject to public hearing, which will now close. And the appropriate committee chair will make a motion for discussion by council, and we'll take public comment as well. before we vote. And we'll start this evening with a final consideration of a rezoning and an annexation and zoning upon annexation. And Mr. Hess, would you please provide that motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd move that we adopt a resolution to annex and incorporate within the boundaries of the city of Missoula 3 tracts legally described in Book 1040, page 253, Book 960, page 1011, and Book 1040, page 253 in the northwest section, in the northwest corner, I assume, of Section 8, Township 13 North, Range 19 West, Principal Meridian, Montana, and zone upon annexation to M1-2 Limited Industrial, based on the findings of fact in the staff report, subject to the recommended 6 conditions of annexation approval as amended in memo number 1, dated December 3rd, 2021, and memo number 2, dated December 7th, 2021. And I'd like to speak to it briefly to demystify that clunky motion.
Mr. Hess.
This is a really straightforward annexation. There's a business near Reserve Street that wishes to expand. They are completely surrounded by city, and for a variety of reasons are petitioning to become annexed into the city. And that will allow them to avail themselves of some utility services and complete their expansion. So it's straightforward. My understanding is that the applicant is in support of the conditions. Staff have done a great job. Emily Gluckin has done a great job putting together this staff report and the subsequent memos, and I support it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. Further discussion on the motion? Right, seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment? Mr. Larson?
Hello, yes, Matt Larson, Ward 3. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for allowing me to speak again. I would ask that you guys do not annex this. I do not think it's straightforward. I think that you guys are obviously in a housing crunch right now, and there has not been equitable distribution of annexation of the city, like mainly target range. Why is target range all considered small ag? Why is there no development or no annexation of that area, and they're allowed to continue to pollute our aquifer with septic tanks that the county is no longer renewing? So there's just a big bottle of worms here, can of worms here, that's being opened up with all these. So these annexations need to be planned carefully, and I disagree with Hess that it's just simple. I think each one of these is its own little can of worms, and we're beginning to learn that with the Missoulian, with the Larchmont proposal, and all this type of stuff. So yeah, vote against this stuff. It's destroying Missoula.
And Anna Vickers.
Hi there. I just wanted to speak on behalf of the annexation. My name's Anna Vickers. I'm with IMEG, and I just wanted to correct some of the misinformation that Mr. Larson just said. This
Apologies, Ms. Vickers.
Can you hear me?
We can now. My apologies.
Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is
Operator from my part.
I had hit it and I guess I thought it started. I apologize. My name's Anna Vickers. I'm with IMEG and I represent the applicant, and this is actually a straightforward annexation. This is a business that's just expanding, and the request to join the city services is for fire extinction, and I think that that's a good thing considering that it's around other businesses in the area. There is a backflow protection, which also protects city water. So this overall is beneficial for the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no additional hands raised among attendees, any further discussion? Seeing none, we will have a roll call vote.
Okay, on the resolution to annex, Harp, Yes. Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Vasika.
Yes.
Von Lossberg.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
And Becerra.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 11 ayes, 1 absent.
And the annexation and zoning are approved. Our second item for final consideration is the adoption of the West Broadway Community Master Plan. And Mr. Hess.
Thanks, Mayor. I would also move that we adopt a resolution of the Missoula City Council adopting the Envision West Broadway Community Master Plan as an amendment to the 2019 Downtime Master Plan, which is an amendment to the 2035 Our Missoula Growth Policy. And if I may speak to that as well.
You may.
Thanks. I've spoken about this at length in the past, so I won't reiterate much tonight. But this is a master plan for an area that we have a lot of opportunity around. The city of Missoula owns a significant amount of land within this plan study area, and we have a lot of opportunity to use that land that we have banked through to beneficial ends for the creation of housing to meet other community priorities. This plan is thoughtful. It was developed in a hybrid format with virtual charrettes, in-person meetings, neighborhood engagement. I want to particularly thank the Northside Westside crew for really assisting the MRA in developing and deploying a really robust neighborhood engagement plan. And I trust that neighborhood engagement style will continue into the future, and that collaboration will continue to be fruitful. So, I encourage folks who haven't looked at the plan to take a look through it. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and I'm happy to support it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. That motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Ms. Merritt.
I also want to support this plan. As Jordan said, it was well thought out. It's important that we go through this process to take a look at areas like this, especially with the city ownership of parcels in this area. I think this is going to take a little piece of our city that has been maybe kind of forgotten for a little while, and put some focus on it, and hopefully make it into a very nice place for folks. And I also want to say thanks to the Northside Westside crew for getting involved and making a really positive impact with their voices. Thanks.
And Ms. Becerra.
Thanks. I too will be happy to support this plan. I just want to say that this was a very thorough process, and through the process, it was revealed that this area has a lot of possibilities, lots of opportunities, and this plan puts forward a vision that can help propel this neighborhood in this part of the city into the future with a really strong set of goals and with new partnerships, and a lot of enthusiasm for improving this area. I would like to thank the MRA and Annette for all her work on this, the Missoula Downtown Partnership, and the Northside Westside crew for all their work and ensuring that neighbors were an important and strong voice throughout this process. So happy to support it. Thanks.
And Ms. Hurt.
Kudos to a woman on our city staff who has probably one of the funnest names to pronounce, Annette Marcia Show, doing a stellar job in terms of leading the master planning in this particular project. And kudos to the Northside Westside crew as well. Last week, I asked a question of our consultants on this particular project, and I walked away a little more enlightened around the idea that communities have a choice about determining whether they want to be a walkable city or a driving city. And I was under the impression every community wanted to be a walkable city. That, alas, I was proved wrong. So now that our community has committed to this, once again, I think it's also worth pointing out again to the public that with that comes change. And one of those changes is going to be higher density in certain particular areas and in areas that are especially central to our downtown core. And this is one of those. For those who may have not been here last week, what this means is that this project is going to have buildings that are going to be 4 to 5 stories. And I bring this up because I don't want you to be caught unaware at some point down the road and perplexed why all of a sudden we're going up that high. So I'm fully in support of this particular project. It's going to bring some great affordable housing units. Almost half of the units in this area are going to be dedicated to affordability. And I think that's just meets our goals in terms of a community. Thank you.
And Ms. Jones.
Thanks. I don't think I'm going to say anything terribly new here, but I did just want to note that, first of all, I think Annette, Marcia So, and MRA just did an amazing job on this. And I wanted to note that this neighborhood, North Side, West Side crew, they really step up and participate. And because of that and the great collaboration with MRA and the consultants, it just, I think, creates a really wonderful project. So I'm happy to support this. And I think this is just an area that has incredible potential. So we may not see everything that comes about that we want in this plan, but I think we'll see a lot of things that come. So I'm excited for it and happy to support it.
Ms. Anderson.
Thanks so much, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the comments from my fellow council members. I want to echo many of their sentiments. And I know that we had a lot of discussion around the purchase of the Sleepy Inn when we were needing to purchase that as a COVID non-congregate shelter. And unfortunately, it's still being used as that. But what that really opened up is a real anchor in this community. And I am thankful that everyone who participated in the design and the plan, encourage folks to take a look at the presentation. And in there it highlights, that there's been over 340 people who have been, have had input into this. And I just really think that, I am proud to see that we are stepping up our game in terms of really intentionality around reaching out to the community for those around voices that are not normally heard in this process, to make sure that we get their input, that this is really reflective of the needs of all of our community. And if the folks, want to continue, I see several folks who are in attendance who have had a significant role in kind of, encouraging and holding us at the city accountable for, collaboration. And I appreciate that and thank them for that, their time and their effort and their caring about their community. And I think it will be a better product because of that collaboration and input. And I just think plans like this are hard to put together and reach consensus, but they're important to sort of lay out the roadmap that we need to really be the community that we want and that all Missoulians deserve. And the fact that the housing is such an integral part of this is just really reflective of our values, as well as a huge need that everybody recognizes, and this puts forward plans to start addressing that in the immediate and long-term future. So thanks to everybody in the community who participated, and I just really hope that this is now the gold standard of how we do community plans like this. Is what we hoped when we bought the Sleepy Inn, and we said, hey, this is temporary, we're gonna eventually engage in a plan like this, and I'm glad that we did. And I think that this needs to be how we do plans all throughout the community, and this just build on this blueprint of community engagement. So thank you so much, and I'm happy to support it.
Seeing no further discussion, I see 2 hands in the attendees list tonight. Andy Housel, I'm guessing.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, that is Andy Helsel. Ward 2, pronouns are they, them. I thank you for the time. I personally just want to say that I'm really excited about the possibilities that this plan highlighted in terms of public engagement regarding city planning. I think, I've been a resident of the West Side for about 14 years and a resident of Missoula for more than 20 years. And in my time here, I've worked hard to engage in the public process to the best of my ability, attending meetings and trying to keep track of changes and new developments. But it's incredibly difficult, not just because keeping up with life is difficult, but also because sometimes finding adequate information or hearing about something with enough time to really, have an impact before decisions are made can be difficult. And I think that this planning process showed us that other things are possible. I want to just, thank a number of folks who really took risks to do something different. A lot of times planning processes, Dover Cole, other, what are they called? Anyway, the people who write those designs, they have like a part of their plan that involves public engagement, but it can be really cookie cutter, kind of applied broadly to every community. It doesn't take into consideration the specifics of a neighborhood or what's unique about the character of the place. And this is part of a neighborhood. It's not just a gateway to downtown. It's part of the West Side. So I just want to thank folks who took the time, like met with North Side, West Side crew on multiple occasions, many different meetings and feedback about parts of this process. And again, took the risk of thinking about how things might be done slightly differently. So Ellen Buchanan and Annette Marcia Schultz, I know you all have more practice with her name than I do. Also Ward 2 Councilperson Hessen, especially Councilperson Becerra, who have really spent a lot of time talking with neighbors and checking in about, getting feedback around what the public engagement process might look like, how it might be improved. Missoula Downtown Partnership, and also just a big thank you to neighbors who took the time to learn about this project, to complete surveys, to attend virtual charrettes, things like that are really imperfect ways to engage neighbors, but things were limited this time. And I think this is just a start of what is possible in terms of really hearing from regular folks who are impacted by these kinds of changes. So again, thank you for the time, and I'm excited about what public engagement can look like in the future.
Thank you. And Sam Duncan.
Hey there, thank you. Sam Duncan, pronouns they, them, and I'm a community organizer on staff with North Missoula Community Development Corporation. And I also have the privilege of organizing with neighbors in the North Side, West Side crew. I'm really excited for this master plan to be adopted this evening. I imagine that's what's going to happen. And just want to share some particular excitement once again about this engagement process being a step in a different direction, one that hopefully leaves neighbors feeling empowered, and also some specifics in this plan that I just want to lift up. I'm not sure we do a good enough job sometimes of actually celebrating the things that are really exciting and great. So I want to lift up in this plan the high attention paid to affordable housing, especially permanently affordable housing, and the use of city-held land and public funds to respond to this housing crisis. In the survey that we distributed and the conversations that we had, there was broad support for that effort continuing to be made by the city using city-held land and public funds. So I hope that that continues to happen. This plan also embraces the river as central to our neighborhood, considers how to connect this part of the West Side with the rest of the West Side, north of Broadway, and considers green space and connecting our trails. And those are all really exciting things. I also just want to note, we know that master plans are general and they're seen as guiding documents and not meant to be highly detailed. But just based on the feedback that crew heard, want to name a few things that we just want to have folks keep in mind as this is actually implemented. Things of note that our neighborhood can't be the only neighborhood. I know this is difficult, but we do carry a lot of this new dense development, and we're absolutely happy to do it, I think. But hopefully we can find ways for this to be done broadly across the city in a more equitable way. I also would love to find a safer crossing across Broadway Street, north and south. Surface crossings are a bit of a gamble on Broadway. So finding an alternative would be really exciting for pedestrians and bikers. There's a lot of concern about parking for existing residents there, particularly Clark Fork Commons residents. And I guess something that I really want to bring up, we did a lot of engagement with folks who are currently unhoused living in and around this plan area. And there's a lot of language in this plan about crime and safety. And just really want to encourage people in the public and also our elected officials to think of, unhoused neighbors as neighbors, folks who deserve to be engaged, as folks who will be impacted by this plan and who could be served by it as well. So thank you all so much. Really excited about this plan and appreciate you all.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Decker, I think that's you, Western Montana DSA.
Yes, thank you. Again, I'm here tonight. My name is Josh Decker. I'm a resident of Ward 1, and I'm here tonight as a member of the North Side West Side Crew neighborhood group. And we all had amazing opportunities to engage on this plan, and a lot of people are owed a lot of thanks for helping make that engagement possible. It's one of the first times that the neighbors that I know and the neighbors that I've talked to have really felt like they were being at least partially treated like stakeholders in the process, like folks that are affected by the decisions that are being made. And so as we move forward with future engagement, we're hoping that this is just the very rudest template for what publishing can actually become as we move forward in the process of development in Missoula. There's a lot about the engagement process that could have run a little bit smoother. There was, issues with location changes for meetings and notice and things like that. But would just encourage the partners in future development to treat neighbor groups as full-fledged stakeholders and to inform them of intentions and plans in the same time frame that the more traditionally viewed parties that are stakeholders would be informed, and that would help us all move into an even more fulfilling and community informed plan, which is what we hope to see more of in the future. So thanks to everyone that helped this plan be pushed forward, and thanks to your commitment to community engagement, and thanks in advance for cranking up the notch, cranking it up a notch on community engagement on the next round, whenever that might be.
Thank you. And Mr. Larson.
Matt Larson, Ward 3. I am actually less enthusiastic than the other members of the public or the North Side, West Side crew. I'm sure their experiences are totally valid. But let's not forget how we got to this whole scenario with this particular part of the downtown master plan, albeit the Sleepy Time Inn, which was mentioned by the council person earlier. It was CARES Act money that was used without appraisal of the property in a very hasty manner. It was purchased, and that's been proven by its lack of ability to be used for the manner or reason it was purchased in the first place. This whole downtown East.
So, Mr. Larson, so far you have made two completely false statements. So we're not going to hear the rest of your commentary on this topic this evening. Seeing no additional comment, we have had discussion and we'll have a roll call vote.
Okay, on the resolution to adopt the West Broadway Community Master Plan, I think we start this round with Hess.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Basika.
Yes.
Von Lossberg.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Becerra.
Yes.
And Harp.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your votes? There's 11 ayes and 1 absent.
And the West Broadway Community Master Plan is adopted. Next item for final consideration is a resolution of the council increasing stormwater, wastewater, and water rates for the city of Missoula. And Ms. Becerra, if you would be so kind as to make a motion.
I will do that. Can you all hear me?
We can.
Okay. So I move that we approve a resolution of the Missoula City Council increasing the municipal stormwater, wastewater, and water rates for use of the Missoula City utility systems and amending the utility rate schedule to be effective January 1st of 2022. And may I speak to that motion, please?
You may.
Over the past few weeks, we have gotten several comments from citizens expressing concern and frustration with the proposed rate increase. And I understand. Budgets are tight, and for many, this will be challenging. However, that has to be balanced with being able to provide the quality of services that we have come to expect. And we need to be able to do years, if not decades, of deferred maintenance on our system. So I would like to thank the consultants that worked on this rate structure for a thorough job, providing us with alternatives for different rate structures. And also, I think it's important that we thank our staff for their careful analysis of these alternatives and for always trying to balance all the needs and concerns of the community as we continue to grow. So I will be in support of the rate increase. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Becerra. And that motion is in order. Before we proceed with discussion, did want to give Mr. McGinnis a chance to let you all know about some low-income assistance that we're aware of that Mr. McGinnis made me aware of today. So Logan, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, we've been working on helping to establish a program funded with ARPA funding. It's called the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program. And finally, just last week became aware that payments are being made. So any customer that's eligible for LEAP, the Energy Assistance Program, would also be eligible for it's called LEWAP is how we pronounce it. So that's kind of hot off the press. Anybody that thinks they might qualify would work through Human Resource Council to apply for that funding.
Thank you, Mr. McGinnis. And back to discussion, Ms. Merritt.
Thanks. I really want to say thanks to Logan for bringing that forward. And I think that is important because there are people in our community who obviously are far more impacted when we have to raise rates than other folks. All that said, I will be supporting this rate increase. I want to remind folks that the water rates have not increased at all in the 4 years that the city has owned the water system. But the price of everything goes up. If we do not keep our rates up with the cost of labor and materials, we will find ourselves in the same situation that we've been in with the water system, which is that there is a ton of deferred maintenance that needs to be taken care of. And there's so much downside to not maintaining our infrastructure that it's hard to even understand the scope of it sometimes when we talk about the fact that half of the water that was being pumped out of the ground when we first bought the water system was leaking straight back into the ground. We've made big strides on replacing that infrastructure and keeping it up. And it's just imperative that we continue that level of effort, and this rate increase is part of that. I know that our staff has done an amazing job of being prudent with the projects that they're looking at and taking every opportunity they can to provide efficiencies. And I appreciate that and have no doubt that they will continue to do that. So I am happy to support this. Thanks.
And Ms. Hart?
Thank you, Mayor. I too will be in support of the utility rate increases, and for reasons because it just, in order for us to be effective and efficient at the work that we do, whether we are talking about our utility rates or for that matter, those business fees from earlier in our discussion tonight, it underscores the fact that government entities are very similar to nonprofits or for-profit businesses. We all have costs that we have to cover, be them wages or other overhead. If we don't incrementally raise rates periodically, it catches us off guard. And I can just speak to the fact that once upon a time we had our property taxes assessed every 6 years. And the public outcry every 6 years was far, far greater because such time had gone by versus an every 2-year assessment. So being able to do this periodically protects our infrastructure and make sure that we have the people on staff to implement it and see to it that we have the best water at the best rates in the state. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the comments for my fellow council members. I want to highlight what Ms. Merritt said, that we took over the water company and have not raised rates in the entire time that we have had it under our control, but we have made incredible upgrades and efficiency improvements and are doing what we can to be more conscientious of conservation. And I think that as we saw across the summer, as many parts of Montana and Missoula included suffered severe drought, and the water limitations and restrictions that were put in place in other communities just really highlighted the fact that having control of our own water utility is so incredibly important, and that even though we are raising rates, we are still finding efficiencies because we are able to look at projects holistically. So when you dig up a street and replace the water, you can also, at the same time go in and make structural improvements to curb, gutter, sidewalks, things like that we planned. And I know that the staff, that's one of the huge things that they've been working on, to kind of look at these infrastructure improvements in a holistic way. Also, if we had not been successful in taking over and having a municipal owned water company, the rates that the private entity was proposing to the PSC would, by this point in time, at the end of 2021, would far, far exceed what we are proposing now. And yet there wouldn't be, the mindfulness of water improvements, I know that they started a low interest loan program for folks who are having to make improvements to that for the portion they're responsible for. These things didn't exist under private ownership, and the rates that we as consumers of water would be paying would be much higher. So, there is a cost, and we have to continue to provide this service. I think it was taken very mindful that we wanted to be, good stewards of this water, and definitely are not doing this exorbitantly, and it is necessary. And I think the presentations that have been done really highlight that. And and these are based on user fees. It's how much water you consume is how much you pay. And so they're, and I really appreciate Mr. McGinnis, bringing up the opportunity, because there are those folks in our community who do need the assistance, and we are mindful of that and want to create avenues for them to do that. So I hope that gets put out on the city's water utility website, if I can make that request. I see a positive shake of nod from Mr. McGinnis, and just want to be mindful, create opportunities to let people know about these opportunities, and as we should let everyone in our circles know as well. But I will be in support of this because I think it's a prudent, reasonable step. Thank you.
Cheryl.
Thanks. I don't think there's a whole lot I can add to what my fellow council people have said thus far, but I do want to really highlight the importance of energy usage and the infrastructure. So if we are pumping water and we're pumping it all over the city and it is leaking out, that is a gross waste of energy. So I think we have Chris Rowe from the, when you get to that, Mayor, from the Energy and Climate team. They made a resolution this past week to support this. The whole team voted on it. For the reasons that I had said, and I think he can speak to it more articulately than myself. But I'm happy to support it, and I would second what Stacy had said about having an easy way for people to access the low income assistance program, and if we can get that out in any manner that is possible through the city, I think that'd be great.
Ms. Wasika.
Thanks. I do agree with Ms. Harp when she stated that we having incremental increases in these fees, it does make sense because prices of things do go up throughout the years, and cost of materials, cost of labor, everything does go up. However, I don't think that this is the year that we should implement it. Especially with COVID, a lot of people getting laid off the past couple of years have been really hard on a lot of folks, especially a lot of folks that are on fixed incomes. So while I am open to increasing the fees in the future, I do not think that this is the year to do it. So I will not be in support of this motion tonight.
All right, seeing no further discussion. Any attendees care to comment this evening? Mr. Rowe.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is Chris Rowe, the chair of the Energy and Climate team for the city of Missoula. Thanks, Amber, for the introductions and the support of this resolution. As she noted, our team came together last Thursday and passed a resolution in support of the rate increase. For many of the same reasons everyone else has had. It's a great system. The costs are very cheap. But I've also, in speaking with folks at the water system, like Mr. McGinnis, they have made a commitment also to reduce greenhouse gas emissions through their upgrades to the system. In particular, they're going to put in a third-party 500 kilowatt solar farm at the wastewater treatment plant. They're committing to upgrading pumps so that we don't lose a huge amount of water back to the groundwater system. And this will go a long way toward meeting our 2025 goal of zero carbon emissions. So, and the one other thing I want to mention that the team talked about is sometimes, it's not necessarily enough to just put something out there. We also need to educate our rate payers, our subscribers. And so we hope that the utility department also puts out there in their monthly newsletter and other forums what they're actually doing on energy conservation and renewable energy. So with that, our energy and climate team support this rate increase. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Larson.
Matt Larson, Ward 3. Thanks for allowing me to speak. This rate increase is ridiculous. If you look at a 2019 article published on January 23rd in the Missoulian, it says, study says no need for rate increase. And that was done by the same city. It was done by a different organization, but we actually were replacing more mains in that study than we currently are, I believe, now. So why are we increasing rates? I'm glad the other caller mentioned the third-party solar panel array, which is utterly ridiculous that we should pay for a third party to make a solar panel that we could just as easily own. And it actually is just on top of that ridiculous because you could use methane harvesting from the wastewater system and actually use the wastewater system to harvest this energy that you're selling on the open market or preventing from going into the atmosphere. But again, we prefer to purchase poplar farms and do weird stuff like that. But anyway, we do not need to rate increase. The study is just an example of how the city can find a study to tell them anything, and it's just adding to more bloat for the city budget. It's ridiculous. We do not need to pay another company to build a solar array. And that's what this is all basically cornering on. And again, it corners on the two suits that are still active regarding the water company. We, the taxpayer, have no update regarding all of that. So those are some other fees, as some of the council people like to mention, that may have been incurred in the water department that we need to address by a rate increase as well. So again, I think we need to get an update overall what's going on with the overturning of the condemnation of the water company and the water company legal fee battle, because we have no idea what's going on with that. And
you hit 3 minutes, Mr. Larson. Water condemnation was not overturned, and we recapture methane to fuel our wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Rowe, we only go one time around, so I appreciate that you got your hand up, but seeing no additional comment this evening, I will add just a couple of things. One is the process here is important. And the difference between public ownership and private ownership is that these proposed rates would have, under private ownership, been proposed to the Montana Public Service Commission, of which Western Montanans and Missoula ratepayers in particular only have an opportunity to vote for one. The rate case that we made was noticed to every ratepayer through a postcard, rigorous public hearing process, and this is the board of directors making the decision about how we invest in the future of this critical system. And I can't emphasize enough what a difference it makes having elected leaders in a community serve as the board of directors for a utility that provides this most fundamental of services to our community. So thank you for your service as the board of directors of not only Missoula Water, but our wastewater and stormwater utilities. Mr. Hess.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for highlighting that we recapture our methane from the wastewater treatment plant. That's something that council approved several years ago that has been a huge success. And that wastewater, or that methane capture, that methane was previously flared off, and now it's captured and provides a large portion of the energy needs of the wastewater treatment plant. It doesn't provide enough methane to power facilities outside of the wastewater treatment plant. So that's the need for the solar array in order to continue to meet our climate action goals. As has been delivered on the record in these meetings a number of times, the private financing, the private provider of solar is actually cheaper to the city. The city has analyzed that, and that will be at a lower cost to the city, and that is because of federal tax credits that are available to private solar installers. That's been well researched and well documented, and I wanted to correct the record tonight that that is a smart business decision that also gets us toward our climate and energy goals. Thanks.
Mr. Van Lossberg.
Thanks. I'm last to the party to mention the methane recapture, so thank you both for mentioning that. And Mayor, you took the words out of my mouth relative to the service of this council is essentially the board of directors for the utility. When we embarked on the process through condemnation for public ownership, I debated a former council member at City Club, and we talked about the fact that under any ownership structure, millions of dollars would be required into the future to maintain and repair and expand the infrastructure of the system. That's the nature of utilities. And people have spoken to this need well, and the analysis around our revenue requirement was done professionally. And I would simply add that the owner of the utility, if it were not the city, would have been Liberty Utilities. And I read hundreds upon hundreds of filings at public service commissions all across the country for Liberty Utilities. And anyone who thinks that these rate increases, modest as they are excessive in any way, should take a look at Litchfield Park, Arizona, or in Missouri, or in New Hampshire, or any of the number of places where Liberty Utilities brought distressed utility assets and jacked up utility fees by 20, 40%, et cetera, et cetera. So these rate increases are moderate. They're absolutely necessary, and I will be supporting them.
Thank you all. Seeing no further discussion, we will have a roll call vote.
Okay, this is on the resolution regarding the water, stormwater, and sewer utility rates. And I think we start this round with Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
No.
Ramos. Cheryl.
Yes.
Vasika.
No.
Von Lossberg.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Becerra.
Yes.
Harp.
Yes.
And Hess.
Yes.
And would any of you like to change your vote? That is 9 ayes, 2 nays, and 1 absent.
And the new rates are approved. Thank you. Our final item for final consideration this evening is on a change to our fees for new taps and establishing a staff assistance fee. And Ms. Becerra, you're up again.
Yes, thank you. I move that we adopt the resolution of the Missoula City Council amending the current fees for new taps into existing Missoula water system mains, establishing a staff assistance fee, and amending the utility rate schedule to be effective January 1st of 2022.
Thank you, Ms. Becerra. That motion's in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment? Mr. Larson.
Yes, Matt Larson, Ward 3. Thanks for allowing me to speak. These fees, again, are just adding to the housing crisis. That adds to contractors' fees, and like all the staff assistance fees are ridiculous. We need to keep these fees low so that housing can be developed in this community. But what the city council fails to see, I guess, is that these water connection fees from the utility, specifically the water company, are a huge part of this housing crisis that is compounded and kind of exploded in your guys' faces. So we need to keep these fees low. So please vote against this. Again, it's ridiculous to raise these fees, especially when there's studies from 2019 saying you don't need to do it, that you yourselves like implemented. So there you go.
And seeing no other hands up among our attendees this evening, we'll have a roll call vote.
Okay, on the resolution for the fees, Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
No.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Zika,
No.
Von Lossberg,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Harp,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
and Jones.
Yes.
And would any of you like to change your vote? That's 9 ayes, 2 nays, and 1 absent.
And the fees are approved. We have no additional items for final consideration. I'll move on to communications from the mayor. This is the evening, the last meeting of the year, following a municipal election, where I get to say a few things about our colleagues who are riding off into what I hope is the sunset, and a beautiful one at that. There will be more opportunity when we gather later, but wanted to say for the record that I am grateful to all of you. Ms. Merritt, I am grateful to you for your tenacity and compassion in representing a neighborhood that has seen dramatic change, being willing to accept that change, but always pushing for that change to be as positive as it can possibly be for the residents you represent. It's a balancing act, and it requires a long view, and sometimes in the face of very challenging testimony, the easiest thing to do is to take a pass. If you know something's going to pass and you don't need to vote for it, you can do that. And I've seen that happen over the years, but I have never seen that happen with you. You take thoughtful, principled positions, and do so with grace and dignity. In addition, but for your work behind the scenes at your day job, I don't think there's a chance that the city of Missoula would have been able to purchase the Flynn Lowney ditch, which changes the landscape of Clark Fork River in positive ways in perpetuity. So your thoughtfulness and your leadership and your experience are part and parcel of a big change that will long outlast most of what we do in this life. So thank you for that, and for everything. Councilman Ramos, you have been a combination of an enormous pain in my derriere, as well as someone who has challenged me to think differently about the way we do business. Your passion for supporting your beliefs, your again tenacity in being often a minority voice, is an example to me of the notion that I can't stop listening. And you have had statesman-like moments. You have surprised me and likely yourself occasionally. And I thoroughly enjoy our lunches and our interesting arguments, and your sense of humor. I've seen you mature as a human being and as a public servant, and I am grateful to you, and hope that you continue raising hell as you march through this journey that is life. Ms. Harp, I'm grateful to you for for your vulnerability, your capacity to wear your heart on your sleeve and let us know exactly what you're thinking at all times. And doing so, I think, certainly gave me, and I suspect your colleagues, pause in thinking about our approach to challenging problems in our community. I think your ability to engage in trying to help people know how important this work is, and making your passion for public service palpable to others has been a tremendous service to the city. And your work with Ms. Jones in establishing our resident academy has not only enlightened lots of folks in our community, but it's been a proving ground for leaders. And from that process and that public education, we've had folks who might not otherwise have ever thought about engaging in local government. But because they were inspired by you and Ms. Jones and others, they recognize the depth and breadth of what the city of Missoula does every day to make lives better. And they got a taste of what it can be to be part of that process. My hope is that you build 1 million houses as a function of Habitat for Humanity through whatever methods you can deploy. And again, I am grateful for your service. And finally, Councilman von Lossberg, who has served as this body's president as a function of formality, but I think to a great degree has served as its heart and soul, as a function of humanity and human decency. The level of courage and compassion that you brought to your service at the city of Missoula is potent. The degree to which you stood on principle and on the right side of that long arc of justice is an example to all of us. You never tilted at windmills. Instead, you deliberately and thoughtfully and analytically made progress. And making progress at this level is incredibly meaningful. There's a world in which I would have you continue your service, and there's a world in which I would have you do exactly what you're doing, and that is take care of yourself and your family. You've given us your all, and that's not the job description. So you are a remarkable human being, a good friend, and you will be sorely missed. But I bid you peace. With that, we'll turn this over to council members who, based on the rules this evening, are expressly forbidden to talk about other council members. So there will be none of that tonight. None of that is true. We'll begin this evening with Ms. Merritt.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for those very kind words. Serving on this body has been a great honor. And I was feeling a little nostalgic. So I thought I would read to you guys from The Art of Soviet Brainwashing. But I couldn't figure out where Candy had left us off. So I'll just move on from that. And I want to say thank you to all my colleagues, each and every one of you. I have learned so much from getting to know you and work with you. It's been unfortunate that the last 2 years have had to be in this virtual format because I feel like we haven't had quite the interactions that we had my first 2 years on council. So I hope that future councils will be able to get back into in-person meetings, because I think that there's a lot to be gained from that. But despite all of that, I am very grateful for the opportunity to have represented Ward 6. We have a lot of great neighbors, and I know that our future council member, Kristen Jordan, will do a great job of representing this neighborhood along with Sandra Vasica in the future. And I just want to say, I expect there to be a plaque somewhere with my name on it about the Flynn Loney Ditch thing. So just keep that in mind. Thanks, guys.
Ms. Sarah.
I will pass, but well, I guess I'm not passing because I just want to say thank you to Julie and Brian, Jesse, for everything you have done for the city, pushing us to think differently. Julie, thank you for always making a motion on Public Works. I really appreciate it, and I will miss you. This makes me too sad, so I will leave it at that. Happy holidays.
Mr. Ramos.
Oh man, you usually let me go last, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, I just wanted to start by remembering bringing another obscure holiday to light that is very important, but also one that I think gets overlooked. It's on the 9th, there was International Veterinarians Day, and I recently had to deal with that. Our family dog, Pluto Ramos, had to be put down this weekend. And so it just kind of really let me understand what veterinarians do, and hope that we can all take a moment to thank the good vets. He came out on a Saturday in the evenings to put him down, and just wanted to thank the veterinarians for all that they've done for this community and taking care of our great pets, and also thanking obviously Pluto for all the great memories that he's given us. And then I guess to finish it off, just wanted to thank the city of Missoula and the constituents that voted for me for the wonderful opportunity to serve. As the mayor said, I've certainly grown more as a person. Having the opportunity to do this so young really, I think, forced me to grow up quicker than maybe I would have, which I don't think was necessarily a bad thing for those that knew me. Having the citizens of Missoula, many of them older and far more accomplished than I am, putting their trust and faith in me was certainly the honor of a lifetime. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to miss being a pain in your ass, but it's been wonderful to not only be a pain in your ass, but also be your friend. Getting to know each and every one of my council colleagues has really let me understand that although we might differ on solutions, we all agree about the problems. And I believe every one of my colleagues and certainly the mayor believe that what they're doing is the right thing to do for the city of Missoula. I worry, again, as a stubborn gentleman and somebody that believes that I happen to be right on most things political, that maybe we're too idealistic at times, and Missoula could be going down the wrong path towards a more elitist city. And I just urge my colleagues to maybe think at certain times and at certain votes, what would Jesse do? Just a little bit, not necessarily vote that way, but just think about the other side and the other arguments. I know Sandy and John will certainly bring some of those to light as well. I think Mr. Nugent is going to do a wonderful job taking my place. It's been an honor to serve next to his father for 4 years, 2 years in person, which was always, we enjoyed the riveting conversations, but just wanted to thank the Missoulians and my colleagues for this wonderful opportunity, and expect to hear me at a few, I guess, controversial public hearings coming up. So I intend to stay engaged. I love Missoula and wish all my colleagues and the citizens of Missoula the best. And thank you all for your service.
Ms. Cheryl.
Thanks. And I think you said it best. I was tearing up when the mayor was talking about everyone, and I think that you did a great job as a tribute to them all. I have learned something from every single one of you, Julie, Jesse, Heather, And Brian, you've been, I am sad that I was only in person with you for 3 months, and then here we are, and now you're moving on. But it is a job that you do because you care about the community. And I totally agree with Jesse. We agree on the problems. We don't always agree on the solutions. But I think all of us have our heart in the right place. And I appreciate having served with you all. And I really appreciate that you were willing to put yourself out there publicly. It is a job that requires thick skin a lot of the time, and passion. And I think you all four have that. And I just really appreciate your service to our community.
Ms. Jones.
Goodness, I don't even know what to say after all of these amazing remarks, but I'll say a few things. And I guess individually, first of all, I wanted to thank Heather for all of your amazing work on the registered apprenticeship ordinance, which was a resolution. I guess it was a huge, heavy lift, and you dove into that, did a ton of work on it. And I'm not sure if I'm sure you've been noting this, but registered apprentices are a thing in the news right now as people are trying to expand those programs. So it was a good piece of work at the right time, laying a good foundation. Jesse, I want to say that I think you have single-handedly kept our printed media in business and alive here in Missoula for the last 4 years. So thank you for that, because we need good newspapers and online newspapers, and you have provided so much content that you have earned your keep. Thank you. Julie, your keen intelligence is just invaluable in a position like this. And I want to thank you for your incredible questions, your insights, your arguments. You were one sharp lady, and we were lucky to have you on council for 4 years. And Brian, your leadership has been amazing on council. Your patience, your passion, your insight, your incredible intelligence. I was looking back at all that's happened in the last few years, and your leadership on the water condemnation case, your leadership during the pandemic, completely a total game changer with complete unknown that we headed into, and you were very integral in leading Missoula and leading council and local government, making good decisions there. You were president during a time of great social unrest in Missoula and in across America, and those are trying times, and you did an amazing job. And then finally, I just want to say your concern for safety on council is very much appreciated. We're living in a new era, and these are the things we have to think about. And you were unwavering in your commitment to making sure that people on council were safe and we had a safe environment. So we all owe you a huge thank you for that. And to all four of you, I know, and you know, but a lot of people out there don't know how much hard work this is, how emotionally taxing it can be at times, how dry and boring it is at times, but nonetheless, it all needs to be done to keep Missoula running. So thank you for that. And thank you for serving during the last close to 2 years of a pandemic. I think everyone did it with grace and flexibility, which is a real testament to you. So thanks for your service.
Ms. Hart? Oh, you're going to pass, Heather. Okay.
No. Good try, John. People ask me, so what are you going to miss about council? And that question keeps repeating itself, I find myself answering it one and the same, watching people shine. And I think one of the incredible benefits of being able to sit at the dais is being able to see people come before our body, scared to death to have their 3 minutes of public opportunity to give public comment, and yet reveal to us what is important to them. And many times I have found that I would disagree, or sometimes I would agree. And I'd have to internalize that and take that into account in a future vote. And I just want to say that with all those people shining, I have been able to handpick a lot of them and bring them over to Habitat. So in particular, Heidi West serves on my Land Acquisition and Development Committee. And Jesse Ramos, you're chairing the Philanthropy Committee. But those are just two of you. All of you have contributed in many, many ways in around the topic of housing. We know this is the #1 issue in our community, and I know it's all important to you. Mayor, I know you have a lot of work ahead, and I hope our organizations can continue to work together. Julie Merritt, I think you were the most underrated council person when we first came on, and I cannot express enough how much you have just completely blown me away in terms of being there for every constituent, whether we agree or disagree upon a particular subject. You are intelligent and raring to go, and sometimes, like Jesse, even a pain in the ass. And I think that's a wonderful compliment. Thank you for all that you have done. I really, really appreciate it. And your friendship over these last 4 years has been a true gift. Brian von Lunsberg, once upon a time, you called me professorial, and I could have been insulted by that, but instead I embraced it, and I feel like I've just taken it to a whole nother level. I am born and bred to be a teacher, and I hope that in my efforts with the Local Government Citizens Academy, that continues to prevail. And I have a lot to you to thank for that, because of who you are and how you taught me. Case in point, just being able to talk off the cuff. And I think that's a really important gift as city council people. And last but not least, Jesse Ramos. If there was a person that I could have not had in my life and been okay with, it was you until about 2 years ago. And I really appreciate you picking up the phone one day and calling me and finding out how I was, because that created an opportunity for change. And it could have been easy just to send you a voicemail, but I picked up. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for always being a courteous and professional gentleman, and just being there when I need you. And to all of my other colleagues, thank you for all that you've done and what you will continue to do for this community. Good night.
Ms. Vasika.
Thanks. Like Amber said, we were only in chambers for 3 months, so I was really unfortunate that I wasn't able to get to know Julie and Brian as well as I would have wanted to. But I really wanted to thank you too for helping me out so much in the beginning, and every time that I asked you guys questions, you were quick and courteous to respond. Julie, you have been a great board mate. I know we disagree on a lot of things, but you always were able to find answers when I couldn't. So I really wanted to thank you for that. Jesse, you have your shoes are going to be hard to fill. So I hope that I can make you proud. I'm really going to miss you, and I wouldn't be here without you. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. And Heather, you are amazing. I remember, what was it, in February, when my second month in office, I came up to you after committee and asked if you knew how to do the thing with the hoop. Turns out that's called cross stitching. And I wanted to make something for my grandmother. And you took me to Joanne's and took me to your house and showed me how to do it. And now a wonderful cardinal that I made myself is above my grandmother's mantle, and she is so proud of it. And that was just the beginning of a beautiful friendship between you and I. We disagree on so many things, but I love that we can talk about it. I love that I can call you up and say, hey, I'm not understanding this part of it. Will you show me it through your lenses, please? I really, really appreciate that, and expect to get so many more phone calls in the future because I will need to get some of your guidance on a lot of these things. Hopefully we will be in chambers next year so I can get to know the rest of you as well as I would like. And I sure am going to miss you for a lot. It's going to be a lot different next year and the year after. So, and change is always exciting, but it's always hard to say goodbye. Good luck.
Ms. Anderson.
Thanks so much. I was dreading my turn. Thank you so much to my fellow colleagues for all of your lovely comments. I echo all of them, and I will try to briefly add my own sentiments to the four who are leaving us. And to Heather, you have always been a huge advocate for mental health, and it's something that we do not talk enough about in our society. And you are not afraid to bring that up and bring it to the forefront. And we are all better for that, to take that into consideration. Jesse, you and I don't agree on very much, but you are principled and consistent, and you know what your values are, and you live those out, and you are not afraid to have a conversation, to hear other people out, but still be true to yourself. And in this day and age, that is hard to come by. So bravo to you, and for representing the voice that needs to get heard, as well as others. Julie, you are such a tremendous human being, so smart, so caring. You don't suffer fools, which I absolutely love about you. You speak truth to power. You speak truth to whoever needs to hear it. We need more of that. And you and Brian have taken up the mantle of gun violence and gun safety in our community. And that, in this day and age, in the state of Montana, is heartbreaking. And you will continue to do it because it's the right thing to do, because it is behind so much careless, needless loss in our community and our society and our country. And you will continue to advocate for that in all spaces that you are in. And I am thankful to know that there are people like you who are not going to be quiet on things like that. And just thank you so much for, the insight and the background that you bring to all the discussions. The myriad of things that you are an expert on is mind-blowing, and I hope that you will continue to be a resource for all of us and a dear friend. And just thank you for everything that you've done. And to Mr. Von Lasberg, who from the day I got on council just was always there on the other end of the line, no matter what big or small philosophical or procedural question I had. You have shouldered more than a lot of people need to, and done so with grace and humility. Sorry, I'm not a crier. But your heart is as big as the Big Sky country, and I consider myself so lucky that you are in my life and that you have led Missoula in so many important ways, so many small ways, that you have kept an eye out over all of us on council. I very affectionately call you Papa Smurf, and because you are always looking out for all of us. And you may not be on council anymore, but I really hope that you're on the other end of the phone when I call. Thank you so much.
Mr. Hess.
Thanks, Mayor. One thing that doesn't always get presented publicly is that council is not, and you've heard a lot of it tonight, but council is not a monolith. It's a body with 12 constituent parts, and those parts, as we've heard, bring diverse backgrounds and values and expertise and functions to the body as a whole. And those diverse backgrounds and personalities engage us and enrich us as a body and make our decisions better. And they delight or frustrate us as individuals sometimes as well. I'm looking forward to welcoming new members that'll add their own character to our body, and I'm looking forward to continuing to serve with all of you and with you, Stacy, and you, Mayor Engen, after your re-elections. But I really want to express the sadness of getting to know colleagues so well and having colleagues move on. Heather, I want to thank you for your candor, for your spirit of inquiry, for your willingness to step outside the box, for your friendship. I think that we will continue to work together. I trust that we will. I know that we will on housing and on other issues, and I'm really looking forward to that. Julie, you have brought an incredible depth and breadth of intelligence. You bring a commitment to justice. You are quick-witted and authentic. You have an unwavering tendency to stand up for what's right, no matter how hard the issue. And that's something that I always aspire to do. And I'm grateful for you modeling that. Jesse, I appreciate your commitment to presenting alternative, well, to me, what are alternate views. To you may not be seen as alternate views, but I applaud you for presenting your views with consistency and even when you're vastly outnumbered, for your cheerful willingness to agree to disagree and occasionally spar about issues. We've talked over the years about how diverse views make council decisions stronger, and I continue to think that's true, and I wish you all the best. And Brian, for your deep commitment to the city of Missoula. Those who know Brian well know that he likes to talk about who's losing sleep over any given project. That is the person who is so invested in a project that it gnaws at them in the middle of the night or at dinner or when it's not opportune. And I can tell you all that Brian has lost more sleep over city projects than anyone I know, whether that is securing our water system in public ownership in perpetuity, or investing in affordable housing, or just reciting obscure but critical statistics on our community's pandemic response. Brian and I came into this work at the same time, and I think a lot about how much I didn't know when I started this work, and frankly, how much I still don't know. But I've learned a lot from Brian over the years, and I'm grateful for that. After we secured the public ownership of our water system, Emily Brock made a remark that we may have just completed the most important work of our lifetimes. And I will always hold the deepest respect for those who made it happen. And that includes you, Brian, and you, Mayor. And I'm so grateful for that. So that brings me to, there's a common thread that runs through each of you, and that is that you answered the call to serve your community, and your community is a better place because of it. And I thank you for that.
And Mr. President.
I can guarantee you what's going to happen is I'm going to start talking and the light in this room is going to go off and it'll be perfect. Thank you for the kind words, Mayor and others. If you'll indulge me some thank yous, I want to thank the voters in Ward 1 for the opportunity to serve. It's been an incredible honor and I'm really grateful. I want to thank Marty on the record for everything. I want to thank former Ward 1 Alderman Jason Weiner for the nudge to think about this. And I want to thank Jordan for coming on at that same time. I've learned so much, and thank you. And I want to thank my Ward 1 colleague, Miss West, for just being the most fantastic fellow ward rep and colleague. And I want to thank all of you, and I intend to do that more personally when we can gather. But I've learned so much from all of you, and I'm just so incredibly grateful for that. This has been an adventure that stretches from riding bikes with my daughter in the neighborhood to report potholes to be filled, to testifying on the stand in support of public ownership of the water system, and 100 or 1,000 other things in between at all the different kind of levels. But no matter where I've worked, NASA, the private sector, nonprofits, there are few more gratifying experiences than when you can work alongside smart, passionate people trying to make their community and their world a better place, and to do what you can to help them. And I'm really grateful for the many opportunities I've had to listen to ideas from constituents, from colleagues, from folks on staff, and to help advance many of those ideas with resources and advocacy and strategy. And to the extent that I've been able to help, I'm really happy, and I'm just tremendously grateful for the opportunity. I'd like to thank my mom and dad for their support. Many of you have heard when I first thought about running for council, my mom said it sounded like the worst possible idea she had ever heard. And my dad said it sounded like the best. And like so many things in life, multiple things can be true at the same time. And most importantly, I want to thank my wife, Genevieve, my daughter, Austin. I leaned on both of you far more than I knew I would need to. And you always met those times with unshakable love and kindness. And I will always be so grateful. So thank you. Thank you all. Really grateful.
Ms. West.
So I'm solidly in the I'm too sad camp to make any nice comments about our outgoing city council members. So I'll save those for later. And it's really silly because I know none of you are going anywhere. You're all going to be right here in town, and we can all find each other. So I guess with that, I'm just going to say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays and Happy New Year. And I'm so excited to see all of you again, you know, whether it's on a Zoom screen or in real life. So I'll see you soon.
Thank you all. Did I miss anyone? Okay. I've got got a lot of pictures and 2 screens, and I get confused easily, as you know. We have no committee reports this evening, folks. We don't have any new business. Are there any additional items to be referred? Seeing none of those, any miscellaneous communications reports, petitions, or announcements?
I had one, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Ramos.
For one last time, I wanted to say hi, Mom. Thanks for watching every single one of these. And thank you to my wife, Taylor, for listening to all of these. And good night. Thank you all.
With that, as always, and once again, I thank you for your service. We will be adjourned.